Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadiyasya Yato Anvayaditaratash Sarteshvabhijñaswarat Tene Brahmargayadikavaye यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि हरि ओम् सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Veda Satyam series, Veda Satyam series. Herein we are going to look upon the various branches of the Vedic literature, and this is the third lecture, the playlist titled as Vedah Pravesha. Veda is refers to the Vedas, and Pravesha, Pravesh in literal sense means to enter, and over here it means in what is trying to indicate is introduction to the Veda, which is the topic of the video. So in this video, we will be trying to understand the basics of the Vedas, of the structure of the Vedas predominantly, and the mood of the Vedas, with what intention they are there. It's not that they are written, but they are existing eternally. This is the tree of the Vedic literature which we have, and there's a slight correction in this table to the ones which I had shown in the previous video. In the Upaveda, Natya Shastra was also one of the Upaveda which was there, the fifth one, but it is actually part of the Kavya Shastra. Natya Shastra comes under Drishyam, and thus there are four Upavedas corresponding to the four Vedas. And today we are going to cover this section, the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda. Not like we are not going to go through the content. We will even barely enter it, but just the structure of the Vedas, because there is a lot of confusion and there is a lot of technical details in even understanding the structure of the Vedas. So, as we are recapping, the recap is of both the videos. The first one was we had started this playlist with the fundamental questions: who am I? What is the purpose of life? And for the fundamental questions, there were Pramanas. We discussed the 10 Pramanas, and then we uh, landed upon the conclusion that Shabda is the best Pramana, the best epistemology, the best means of knowing the truth. And then it was the Vedas. We had a prelude to the Vedas, and there was a glimpse of the tree of Vedic literature. So these four was from the first video. And in the second video, we went through the basic tenets of the Vedic philosophy, the Chaturpurusharthas, the gunas, the varnashrama, and various other concepts which are there, the karma and reincarnation, and all of that was covered in the second video. So the listeners who have not referred to it can refer to the previous videos to have a clear understanding. The content of this video is first we are going to look into the purpose of the Vedas, introduction to the Vedas, components of Vedas, and conclusion. The components of Vedas is going to be a little technical. There's going to be a lot of technical terms which will be there. So it can be a little difficult to follow for the listeners who are listening it for the first time. But still it is better to, you know, get familiarity to it because we would be repeating these things. So eventually it will become settled, inculcated in one's mind. So now we have the Veda Prarambha, that is the basics, the essentials. And the Veda Prarambha, this is the purpose of the Vedas. Some points here are repeated from the first video so as to just have proper background. So the Vedas are the sound incarnation of Brahman, Shabda Brahman. That is also the part of the title, Shabda Brahma Sarupam Vedaha Satyam. So Vedas, they are not ordinary sound, they are not ordinary Shabda, but they are Shabda Brahman. The Brahman in this Shabda form is what the Vedas are. This we have gone through in the first video. Brahma Pramada Vipralipsa Karana Patava Ishware Vakya Nahi Dosha Ei Sarva. This verse is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. These four defects which are there in every human being, in every living entity. Ishvara Vakya Nahi Dosha Ei Sarva. Ishvara Vakya is the Shabda Brahman, as previous, as just now I said. Brahma means mistaking. Pramada is illusion. Vipralipsa is cheating. Karana apatav is imperfectness of the senses. We'll take an example of smoke on mountain. One observes smoke on mountain. Then he is concluding there is fire. Vyakti, using the principle of Vyakti. Seeing the hetu in the premise, at the place, and then using the Vyakti based on the previous observations, he is coming to the conclusion. The mistakes. So this is a little crude example, but to have all the four mistakes and like still one can understand. So one sees smoke on mountain based on previous observations, he concludes there is fire. The defects are if the rain has occurred, then fire has been set off, Brahma. So still there is no fire, but even after the fire is extinguished, the smoke sustains for some time. So that is a mistake. He mistook fog as smoke. That is pramada, illusion. Mistaking fog to be smoke is a problem. It's a pramada. May think of creating havoc by exaggeration. So as I said, just to explain all the four examples in all the four mistakes in one example, but it could be there's a tendency, and which is very well observed in the modern scenario, to to benefit, to take benefit of the situation. So he can create a havoc. He can go to a nearby village and he can exaggerate as there is a forest fire and it is devouring everything, and then he can take advantage of the situation. And there is misunderstanding, color blindness. Really, it is just something else, which he just kind of, so he just kind of took it as smoke. That is the Karana part of it. So these defects are there. One of the four in modern scenario again, all the four are there. And Rishi Munis, great sages, even they have this in some percentage that is still there. Uh, this is the reason why we accept Vedas, because they emanate from the Lord. Vedas are the sound, incarnation of Brahman, and they are free from these defects. Brahma Pramada Vipralipsa Karana Patava Ishwari Vakina Ye Dosha. And this sutra from Brahma Sutras, Shrutestu Shabda Mulatva. So the defects of this world cannot be applied to Brahman. You may say that this world and we have originated from Brahman. So if we have the mistakes, then definitely the Brahman also has mistakes. But that is what is being answered here. Don't think it in the vice versa form, because that is not so. For the scriptures say so. And therefore the Vedas are known as Apaurushaya. Purush means a person. A Purush is not a person. The work of a Purush is Paurushaya. Apaurushaya is a work which is not created by any human being. So something which is not created by ordinary humans is known as Apaurushaya. For this very reason, the Vedas are Apaurushaya. They were not written down by sages in the sense that they did not create the verses. The verses were already there. They realized the verses in their meditation. It was given to them, it was revealed to them. They wrote down the verses. It was revelation, not creation of the sages. This is a very, very important point because many, many scholars in the modern time, they don't have idea about this Apaurushaya concept. I think the different sages which were there, because that's how it apparently looks. The different, as we will see in the upcoming slides, the different parts of the Vedas, they were spoken by different rishis, Vasishta, Maitreya, Yagnavalkya, but it is only revealed to them in the story of Yagnavalkya, which we will see at the end. We will understand. Though we attribute Shukla Yajurved to Yagnavalkya, it is not that he has written it. Literally, yes, he has written it, but in the sense that he discovered, invented those mantras, it is not so. The mantras are eternally there. That is what is to be understood. It is only revealed, it becomes manifest at some times, it becomes unmanifested at some times. Right now, it is in unmanifest form. It is not that we have lost, because as we will see, a major portion has been lost. But lost in the sense that it is not that it is gone forever. No. Sanatana Dharma, it is eternal. Vedas are eternal. They are the sound incarnation of Brahman. How is it possible for them to disappear? It is only that they manifest and the unmanifest according to time. And the same verse mantras which are there. And therefore the the verses in Vedas are known as mantras. They are not verses, which we will see again at the end. These mantras which are there, these are revealed to the sages in every kalpa, in every day of Brahma. You may say, how is it possible? What mantras which are attributed to Vasishtha of this kalpa? Is it that the same mantras will be attributed to Vasishtha in the next kalpa, or was it attributed to this, Vasishtha in the previous kalpa? Yes, that is true. These sages also, they are posts. When we say Indra, Indra is a post, like Prime Minister. But Indra proper is a person. Current Indra's name is Purandara. Likewise, these sages also, these are sort of a post, and different living entities acquire that position in different kalpas. There's a prototype based on which Lord Brahma creates the sages. in each and every kalpa. And the same mantra is revealed to them in each and every kalpa. Therefore, there should be no confusion. One has to, there is a difference. These are verses in each and every kalpa. There's a new set of verses which are revealed. No, mantra is eternal. This creation, next creation, previous creation, this day of Brahma, next day of Brahma, this yoga, next yoga, or in this universe, or in the other universe, or in the biggest universe, anywhere in the samsara, in adhyatmic jagat or in the bhautik jagat, mantras are eternal. That is what known as Shruti. Smriti, the verses change. When we say verses change, their krama, their shabda, they change. Sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma sucha. This verse is there from Bhagavad Gita, which is part of Mahabharata, which is Smriti. This was also covered in the first lecture. We will also cover it in the subsequent classes. So the meaning is to, abandon all the religions and just surrender unto Lord Krishna. This is the meaning. Now this verse may be in different words in the previous kalpa and will be so in the next kalpa. But the meaning remains the same. Okay. The wordings can change, the krama can change, the meter can change. Meter is a way of singing a verse. But the message remains the same. It is not something new sort of messages being communicated in the Bhagavad Gita of the next kalpa. No, it is same. And even Krishna indicates that the fourth chapter. Evam parampara praptam, evam rajarshi. Sakala niyamata yoga nashta parantapa. He is also explaining the appearance and the disappearance of the knowledge. Therefore, there is no creation per se. And Krishna says, Evam vivasvate yogam, prokta vanaham avyayam is vivasvan manave praha manurishvakavya bravit. Evam parampara praptam evam rajarshi vidusa kalane mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Yogo nashtaha parantapa. When nashta, it means unmanifest. It was lost, not forever, but for some time. Returning to our topic, so the important thing is Shruti, there are mantras which are eternal in any period of time, in any universe. They are revealed to the sages, and the sages to whom they are revealed, they are known by that name, Vasishtha, Maitreya, Yagnavalka, so on and so forth. But they do not create the mantras, they are only revealed to them. These sages, there are different jivas who occupy that position in each and every kalpa. The same set of mantras are revealed to them in each and every kalpa. Thus, all the queries are resolved concerning this matter. Now, as we said, to understand the mood of the Vedas, the thing is that the desire of people ranges from personal, individual sense gratification to extended sense gratification, philanthropy, all the way up to merging into Brahman, attaining the Lord in the spiritual world. Thus, Krishna fulfills desires through the Vedas. All these desires are to be fulfilled. So there's a whole variety which is there, and there is no binary system of this way or no way, of Jnana Marg or of Bhakti Marg and no other Marg. No, uh, it can be different results can be obtained based on different paths. It's not that all the paths end up to the same to the same goal, but there are levels. The Vedic literatures are designed and composed in such a way so as to fulfill the desires of all the living entities, because Krishna fulfills the desires of all beings. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitanam Eko Bhunam Yo Vivadhati Kaman. Nityo Nityanam. The Lord is the chief among all the eternal. Chaitanas Chaitanam, the prime conscious entity among all the conscious entities. Eka Bahunam Yo Vivadhati Kaman. He fulfills the desires of all the beings. So, this is the purpose. For this purpose, the Vedas are there because the desires are to be fulfilled. Whoever is in which avastha, this is also covered in the second video. Whoever is in whichever avastha, in sthana, according to that, the injunctions are there. Not that the same injunction for each and every living entity. He gives the knowledge by giving the Vedas and the facility to enjoy the material world by, by giving this material. So the enjoyment is there, but we don't know how to enjoy it, how to process the body. So the material facilitation, material cause is the material world, that's the body samsara, and the efficient cause is the knowledge. Because through Vedas, by performing yajna, which will be covered later on, one can attain the desired goals. So that the living entity can take knowledge from Vedas, do some activity in this world, and then fulfill their desire. And so, for this reason, Krishna creates varieties of species so that the living entities can satisfy their desire. Of course, the ultimate reason is the liberation of the jiva, and thus it is his mercy on the jivas. Karunyam tatriya hetu nanya tapta kamatvat. But there is so much of suffering in this world. Then how is that Krishna creates this world for us, or how is it is mercy? The reason is that it is, of course, to fulfill the different desires of different living entities. However, the main aim is the liberation, because this world is a foreign place for the. This is also covered in the previous video. This is a foreign place for the Atma. The aim is to get out of this world, but not everyone. It is not instantaneously possible for each and every living entity due to its extreme conditioning. So they are at different stages of the ladder. So according to the level at which they are given the practice, they are given the sadhana. So even if someone is in the tamasic guna, gunas are covered in the second video. So if anyone is not familiar, they can watch. It is better to watch the videos in the sequence because the concepts, as I had said in the very first lecture, they will be repeated and they will build upon. So those who are in the tamas guna, for them there's a type for them even meat eating is being sanctioned right, by offering to the deity because they are conditioned in such a way that it is impossible to make them rise to the Brahmanical standard. It is just impossible. But the understanding is gradually, shanai, gradually, slowly, they will come to that consciousness. Practicing the Vedic sense, the Vedic injunctions, gradually the living entities will come to that platform. That is the reason. And that is why it is his mercy. Karunyam tatkriya hetu nanya dapta kamatva. And ultimately, the Lord is Leelamaya. And it is his pastimes only. Though there is temporary suffering, it is ultimately beneficial for the living being. Moreover, the idea of happiness suffering is a mental consideration and is relativistic in nature. This is a new concept which we have introduced. This will be covered gradually. It is to be realized. Uh, we are just touching on this. But ultimately, the Lord is Leelamaya. And he has to perform different Leelas. And this is also one of his Leela. You may say that just for his own enjoyment, just for his own Leela, he's giving suffering to so many living entities. Yes, but the suffering is temporary. And it is not that he forced that living entities. It was their desire to come here. And ultimately, he's also facilitating their return, their escape from this world. And the idea of happiness and suffering is a mental consideration, is of relativistic nature. This was also covered in the second class in the karma section. That what is good for someone may be bad for someone, and what is bad for someone may be good for someone else. And it is a relativistic idea. And even there is temporary suffering. If the end is good, then there's no problem. Even in this world, there are so many things which have suffering in the beginning, but still we endeavor to it. Entrepreneurship, so much struggle is there, but at the end, the results are good, and therefore people endeavor for that. Moving on, the Vedas are compared to a disciplic kalpavriksha because they contain all the things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as with spiritual realization. Above and beyond all departments of knowledge, there are specific directions for spiritual realization. So they cover to all the different varieties, proclivities of living entities. Vedas, as previously stated, means knowledge. Vedas contain all knowledge. Any branch of knowledge, be it material or spiritual, present in any part of not only this world or this universe, but the entire cosmic creation, is present in the Vedas. The original actual source of any knowledge is the Vedas. If we trace back the origin of any science, we will find its origin in the Vedas. Thus, we should only say that we have discovered something and not invented something, for everything is already there in the Vedas. Any branch of knowledge, anywhere on this planet, in the African continent, in the North American continent, or in the Arctic Ocean, on the Atlantic Ocean, in the Arctic Circle, North Pole, wherever in this planet, everything is already there in the Vedas. There are also, this is a little digression, but historically, if we see that the Westerners, when they had invaded India, they stole Atharva Veda and many Vedic scriptures from here, and whatever they, whatever discoveries are being falsely attributed to them were already existing in the Veda. And therefore, it is to be understood that even in the best case, that no, they independently rediscovered it. Even if that is to be taken, still the source is the Vedas, for it is already there. And why not it will be there? Because you can understand it from this analogy, this was also given in the first class, uh, of a product and a manual. This world is a product, say a refrigerator, and Veda is to be a manual. There is a technical manual. So each and every detail is there, and each and every scenario is given. So if your refrigerator is not working, or if there is some sort of shock circuit, what to do? Not each and every case may be applicable to each and every person. That is true. But still, it is given the Vedas, for it caters to all the different needs. So it is foolish to make fun of it. Why this thing is there? It is not for me, or it is. Why is it saying so? But you may be in Sattvagun, but there are people who are in Tamasgun, and ultimately, each and everything can be traced back to the highest good, to the highest cause. This can be very well traced back to the learned eyes. This is very much being observed. So, what is to be understood is that different desires which are there of the living entities, they are being catered to in the in the scripture. If something is not applicable to one living entity, it is not that it is something which is nonsensical. It is only that to that person it is not applicable. Yet we have to respect the words because they are part of the Vedas, spoken by the Lord Himself. They are the breathe of Veda, the Lord. There's a verse in Aranyakas Upanishad. They are the breathe, which will be covered in the 15 classes we have not included here in this presentation. So now we are entering into the technical details. Veda Parichaya. Parichaya means an introduction. Originally, there was only one Veda, of the name Yajus. When Lord Brahma first spoke the four Vedas with his four mouths, he simultaneously spoke that, so the mantras were mixed together. And Vyasadeva, he sorted the Vedic mantras into four divisions. Ruk Atharva Yajur Samna, Raje Udrutya Vargasha, Chatusraha. Samhitas Chakre Mantra, Mani Gana Iva. So it can be thought of that this the Vedas, they are the the original Yajurveda is something like a collection of four types of gems mixed together. And Srila Vyasadeva, he kind of segregated them based on the needs of the four types of priests which were involved in performing a sacrifice, yagna. The first is the Rigveda, that is the Hota priest. So Rigveda was with contains mantras to invite the devtas in the sacrifice. The Hota priest sings the mantras inviting the devtas to preside over the sacrifice. Mandala, Supta, Mantra. And this is the division which we will see eventually in our presentation. So the understanding is that the Hota priest in a sacrifice, the basic idea is to call the deity. There's a purpose for which the yajna is done, for that a deity is to be propitiated. For that purpose, the deity is being invoked, and for invoking the deities, there are certain mantras. Next, we have Samaved, Udgata priest. When the deities have come, the Samaveda has mantras to entertain the devta after they have assembled. So the Udgata priest, they sing sweet hymns. Hymns are the English form of suttas, musical tone for the entertainment of the devta. Therefore, for this reason, the verses, the mantras in Samaveda are in a very sweet, in a very melodical tone. There's a lot of melody in Samaveda. Next, we have the Yajurveda, Advaryu priest. Herein, the Yajurveda, it contains the mantras on how to perform the sacrifice and obtain oblations. Once the devtas are invited, entertained, they are offered oblations and somatasa. All the rituals of the sacrifice are specified in this Veda. The Advaryu priest performs the sacrifice according to the strict ritualistic codes of this Veda and makes offering to the devtas. There are two parts to it, Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda, which we will see later on. So they have come, they have been entertained, now there is offering. And the Atharva Veda, Brahma priest. All the things which are left after segregating the Vedas into above three are included in this Veda. So there is sort of a appendix, like whatever was left was added on here. However, there are other, we will see this. It's a very interesting Veda. Many sciences are there, this Veda. Now, each of this Veda, there are components to the Veda. एकविंशति भेदेन ऋग्वेदं कृतवान् पुरा शाकानां तु शतनैव यजुर्वेदम् अथाकरोत् सामवेदं सहस्रेण शाखानां प्रभि प्रविभेदसः अथर्वाणाम् अथो वेदं विभेद नवकेन तु. With these Vedas, there are shakhas to it, component branches to it. So this verse is from Brahmanda Purana, second canto, third section, verse number, it is in the 20s. Formally, he divided the Rigveda into 21 branches. He composed Yajurveda with 100 shakhas, divided the Samaveda into 1000 branches, and divided Atharva Veda into the 9 parts. It is not mentioned over here, but Atharva Veda was also divided Now, herein, the he refers to Vyasadeva because this is a direct quotation from the Brahmana Purana. And 86 plus 14 is the Shukla Yajurved and the Krishna Yajurved. Shukla Yajurved has got 86, mm, Krishna Yajurved has got 14. So these 100 shakhas of Yajurved, the 1000 shakhas of the 1000 shakhas of Yajurved, the 1000 shakhas of the Samaved, 100 shakhas of the Yajurved, 21 shakhas of the Rigved, and there were 9 shakhas of Atharvaved. These shakhas are there, and each and every shakha has a Samhita, has a Brahmana, has Aranyaka, and a Upanishad. This total is to 1130, and therefore there were 4520 parts originally. Okay, so Rigveda is 21, Yajurveda is 100, Samaveda is 1000, and Atharvaveda is 9. This sums up to 1130. Patanjali in his Mahabhashya says there are 101 parts to Yajurveda. So there are some details, there is some change in the number, but it is around 1130. At least 1130 shakhas are there. Each and every shakha has a Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyakas, Upanishad. We'll see this in the next slide. There are 4520 parts. The extant parts, what is being survived, what is there, is that we have only 11 Samhitas, 18 Brahmanas, 7 Aranyakas, and 220 Upanishads. This is only 5% of the actual text. If you take the add this and you find the percentage from the 4520, it is something 6%, 5 to 6%. So we have lost a major chunk of it. We have only a few things. And fortunate we are still it can be, we have enough to actually, there's no problem. Even with this, we can sustain. There's a good example, a very good common example which is given in relation to this, that in Bhagavad Gita there are 700 verses are there. 6% of 700 is 42%. 1% is 7 and 6 7 are 42. Imagine only there were 42 verses on based on that which you had to understand the Vedas. How would it be possible? And consider that the 42 verses, the majority of them are from the first chapter. You can understand. You will understand that Arjuna was bewildered. He gave the reasons and he didn't fight. That would have been the meaning, which would have been derived if you had the major verse, if only 42 verses and major of them were from the first chapter. But that is not the case. And then we find that uh, he's fighting. He became convinced. He was convinced and he fighting. But still, so it is very difficult actually for us to understand, actually extend the depth and the purpose. But still, what we have makes a lot of sense because thanks to the Smritis, to the Puranas, because of which we can understand it. So now we are going to look into the 4 components, that is the Samhita, Aranyaka, Brahmana, and Upanishad. So according to the tradition, each Veda is divided into mantras and Brahmana. So these 4 divisions, they are sequential. There's mantra, then there's a Brahmana. At the end of the Brahmana, there's a Aranyaka. At the end of Aranyaka, there is a Upanishad. That is the sequence which we'll cover here. So there is a mantra portion and there's a Brahmana portion. The Brahmana portion is known as, the mantra portion is known as the Samhita. And the Brahmana is more like a theological treatise which is attached, which is there to the Vedas. The end portion of many Brahmanas have an esoteric content called the Aranyakas, and embedded in this Aranyakas, or at the very end, is these Upanishads. There is a Brahmana corresponding to each Samhita, likewise there is a Aranyaka Upanishad corresponding to each and every Brahmana. And when we say Rigveda, it refers to the Rigveda Samhita, the mantra portion, which we'll see. The Samhita, this is a mantra portion. It contains the mantras and ontology of prayers. This section is primarily for brahmacharis because the Gurukul, which was the system back then, the prevalent, amazing, interesting, most holistic system to be ever there, which is there and which will be there in the next cycle as well, cycle of Yuga. The Brahmachari, the first section, which is we have also covered this in the Varnashram. The Samhita portion was there, which was explained. And there the brahmacharis, they would recite the Samhitas. Of course, the Brahmanas also they would understand, but the thing is that it was primarily for the brahmacharis. Samhita portion. So these are the mantras which are there. Then we have the Brahmana. The Brahmana portion correspond to each Samhita and guides for people to perform sacrificial rites by offering prose explanations of the method of using the mantra in the yajna. It contains the explanation mantras contained in the Samhita portion. This portion guides people on as to how to live in cities. This is primarily for Grahas. So, in defining the Brahmanas, one way of understanding is that Brahmana is for those who live in city. A Grahas city in the sense, not the modern city, but in the ground. Back then, it refers to the cities and how to live there. That is being explained in the Brahmanas. This is one way of understanding it. The Aranyakas. The forest treaties, that is, they guide people on as to how to live in forest. Thus, it is primarily for Vanaprastha. They are considered as supplements of the Brahmana. They offer a different explanation of rituals and mantras of Samhita portion and contain powerful teachings, including various methods of meditation, upasana. Well, this upasana we'll cover in the subsequent slide. What it refers to, this is one way of understanding the definition. This is one portion. The next portion we will see in the next slide that it is for the Vanaprastha. So Brahmana is for cities, Aranyaka is for the forest, and the forest, the Varnashram, as I had said in the last video, it is the next stage, the third of the four Varnas, of the four ashrams, and it is the third next to the Grahas. So they retire. The Grahas, after performing all his duties, he retires to the forest, wherein he engages in meditation. So how to sustain one's life there is being explained in the Aranyakas. Next, we have the Upanishads. They are the end portion of the Vedas. Therefore, they are the most philosophical. They reveal the absolute truth and impart the most confidential knowledge of the Vedas. Thus, it is primarily for sannyasis. The fourth were ashram at the end, after the Vanapras, and herein the the most philosophical. The mantras are there in the Samhitas. The explanation of the mantras and how to perform the yajna is given in the Brahmana. The Aranyaka is a further explanation of the symbols of the different things involved in Aranyaka. And Upanishad is it is this theology, it is the philosophy behind the yajna. And not just pertaining to yajna, but it is about the existence, about Brahman, the three, Trayavastu, Brahman, Prakriti, and Jiva. That is what is explained here. Now, we will return back to this in the next slide. Before that, there's something which is to also be covered that mantras are basically of three types when classified according to their mechanical form: Ruk, Yajus, and Saman. And so, therefore, the the type is that the Ruk verses are versified mantras. So they are in verses, plain verses. The Yajus is in prose. So there's a poem and there's a prose. Prose is the normal. There's no poetic uh, ornaments of Yajur, of in a prose. It is normal sentences. And verses they are in there's a poetic ornaments, the poetic uh, technicalities is there. And Samans are melody set on Ruk. So they are sung in a very melodious way. And therefore the Rigveda is so called because it is it comprises of the Ruk verses. They are standard verses, like the Purusha Sutta. The Yajurveda is so that it is composed predominantly of prose mantras, although it has hundreds of Ruk. So actually, the thing is, the Rug Veda is actually the foundation. Many mantras of Ruk you will find in the Yajurveda and you will find in the Samaveda. Those mantras which are in versified forms are in prose forms. They are sung in the prose form in Yajurveda. However, even in the Rug in Yajurveda are recited as if they are prose passages. And the same Rug mantras which are there in Samaveda, they are sung in a melodious tone, which are known as Saman. The Atharva Veda is comprised of Rug 5/6 of that and Yajur 1/6. And some adept Vedic scholars can even set the mantras of Atharva Veda to melodies, because we will have this again in the future, in the subsequent slides. The Samhita of Rigveda is called Rug Samhita, the Taittiriya Samhita, and the Vajasneya Samhita present the mantra portion of the Krishna Yajurveda and the Shukla Yajurveda respectively. The Sama Samhita belongs to the Samaveda, and the Atharva Samhita belongs to the Atharva Veda. So, as I said, the mantra portion is what was traditionally referred to as Veda. When we say Rug Veda, it refers to the Rug Veda Samhita. And for the Yajurveda also, it is the Taittiriya Samhita, the Krishna Yajurveda, Vajasneyi Samhita, or the Shukla Yajurveda. This Vajasneyi Samhita was revealed to Yagnavalka by Surya, my Lord, Sun God. And Taittiriya Samhita is of the Krishna Yajurveda, Sam Samhita of Samaveda, and Atharva Samhita of the Atharva Veda. Many scholars, modern and ancient, have tried to define the Brahmanas by stating their characteristics. The reality, however, is that there is no sharp difference in the characteristics of the mantra and the Brahmana portion. The only thing which can be safely said is the mantras are those portions which are designated as such traditionally, and the rest is the Brahmana. The difference is there, but there is also a lot of interspersion within the Brahmanas, and there's no it is it's not a mechanical separation. You know, it is a very integrated, well integrated form. Unlike the mantras, which are mostly in verse, the Brahmanas are predominantly in prose order. The Brahmanas contain formula for rituals, rules, regulation for rites, sacrifices, and also outline other religious duties. As I said, they explain the Samhita. The formula for conducting extremely complex rituals are explained to the minutest detail. So they have everything, because the source of each and every system of knowledge is the Veda. And every ritual is performed for a specific purpose, for a specific effect or benefit is then thereby expected. By performing sacrifices, even the sun could be stopped from rising, and Indra, the chief of God, could be deposed from his throne. So that was the power of yagnas, which is spoken here. Yagnas we are not covering here. It will be little bit introduced in the in the subsequent slides, and in the Vedangas when we come to the Kalpa Sutras, there we'll cover yagna. So this is the Brahmana portion, and they are the theological aspect of the Vedas. And the end portion of the Brahmana is the Aranyaka, wherein the symbolic and the spiritual aspects of the sacrificial religion are meditated upon, and while the philosophical issues are discussed in the Upanishads. Therefore, Upanishads are held in the highest regard in the Vedic tradition. Because when we say Vedas, it is so that it refers to the Upanishads, because they deal with the underlying issue, the philosophical issue, the philosophy, the jnana is discussed here. And therefore, they have a very high regard in the tradition. Attached to the Vedas are several genres of auxiliary texts, the Pratishakhas, Anukramanis, Shiksha, Kalpasutra, Kalpasutras, and Parishishtas. So now this will be explained that Pratishakha is a shaka specific phonetics. Anukramani is an index of a shaka. Shiksha is phonetics. Kalpasutras are ritual manuals, and Parishishtas are appendix. Now I will explain this. So these Vedas, previously it was communicated verbally. There was no written Vedas because people were so intelligent that just by hearing once they could remember. Therefore, they were known as Shrutidhara. Now we don't have that. Then, the when the people degraded, their memory degrade, then it was written down, and that is why Vyasadeva, we are so indebted to Vyasadeva. We say Vyasasan because he gave us the knowledge. He wrote down because he knew that people would forget that, and he divided the Vedas because it was impossible for just one person to understand all of the Vedas. So he divided it into four parts, and then subsequently there were divisions which will have at the end. So each and every they were communicated in an oral form, and they were as in a very versified, in a very melodious tone, in a very the chant was a very proper technical accent which was there. This will also be covered in the Chandas section. We are just touching it upon here because in more detail it will be covered there. There are six Vedanga: Siksha, Vyakran, Nirukti, Chandas, Jyotish, and Kalpasutra. This Kalpasutra is what is being spoken here, and this is the section. So Prati Shakha is a Shaka specific phonetics. Each and every Shaka has a specific way of chanting that. And Shiksha is general phonetics. So that is the difference which is there. And this Shiksha, it gives the general Vedic phonetics. And it is for the beginners. This is the first thing which is being taught on how to chant the verse. And Prati Shaka is like it's a specialization. Anukramani is the index of a shaka, what all contents are there. Kalpa Sutras is a ritual because, as I said, each and every component is there. Each and every shaka is there. So shaka, what it has is a Samhita, Aranyaka, Brahmana, Upanishad, and there's a attached Kalpa Sutra because each and every shaka there is a ritual which is to be performed. And Kalpa Sutras, which is one of the Vedangas, which was covered in the first video, it is a ritual. It is a manual on how to perform the rituals, which is also attached to it. And a person or a group of people who study a particular shaka, the Samhita, the Brahmana, the Aranyaka, the Kalpasutra, any additional text attached to it, that is what is constituted as a charana. And therefore, they say that the Brahmanas who study the Taittiriya Samhita, the Taittiriya Brahmana, Taittiriya Aranyaka, together with the Kalpasutra of Apastamba, they say that we follow Apastamba Charana. So, Charana is when you study shaka properly in its entirety, along with the attached auxiliary text, then it is known as charan. So Prati Shakas is a Shaka specific phonetics, Shiksha is general phonetics, Anukamand is index, Kalpasutras are manuals, and Pratishishtas is an appendix. So additional details which are added to it. Nirukti, for example, a dictionary which is added to a Shaka by the sages, because which explains the different uh, words which are used, which are there in the mantra. Now we will look each and every Rigveda. We'll have some focus on some details. First, we have the Rigveda. The existing extent is what we have is the 10,500 mantras. These mantras are there into 1,028 suktas, which are in 10 mandalas. So this basically these are 10 sections. Each section has some chapters, and each and every chapter has some paragraphs. To give an analogy. So 10,000 mantras are there divided in suktas. For example, one famous sutta is the Purusha Sutta. There are 18 mantras in the Purusha Sutta, and which is there in one of the mandalas. Another way of dividing Rigveda is like it is being divided into 8 parts, ashtakas, and which are further divided into 8 chapters. And thereby there are 64 chapters, 64 chapters. And this is the latest scheme by Mandala. Later on, it was added. So the branches, the famous, the existing prominent branches are the Shakalya branch, with the Aitareya Upanishad. It is a very famous portion. Aitareya Brahmana, Aitareya Aranyaka, Aitareya Samhita, and Aitareya Upanishad. Aitareya Shaka is part of Shakalya. Bhaskala, Shankhayana, Ashvalayana, and Kaustaki Upanishad, and Ashvalayana. These are also very famous shakhas. Another name of Rigveda was Bahvrucha because it had many verses. This is also the name of the Rigveda Samhita. Rigveda Samhita, it refers to the Rigveda. As I said, traditionally, when we say Rigveda, it refers to the Rigveda Samhita, the mantra portion. Mantra, that is a prominent aspect. Next we have is the Yajurveda. As I said, it has got 2 parts, Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda. In the former, the mantras and portion are collected in separate texts in Shukla Yajurveda. But in the later, in the Krishna Yajurveda, the 2 portions are found interspersed. So as I said, when I said that there is no clear distinction is there because it is many times found to be interspersed. Or even when in the Shukla Yajurveda, the mantra and Brahmana are segregated. But in the Brahmana, we exactly don't, it is not very clearly mentioned that now the Brahmana ends, now here begins Aranyaka, or now begins Upanishad. Sometimes Aranyaka, it is there, it is interspersed in the Brahmana. The Shakla Yajurveda Samhitas, the famous ones are the Vajasneyi, Adhyamdina, and Kandava. So these are very famous portions of that. The Krishna Yajurveda Samhitas are Kataka, Maitrayaniya, and Taittiriya. Apastambhi Samhita is also part of it. Kapisthala. Kapisthala. It is only in the fragmentary part, which is what we have. Apastambhi is a very famous Samhita, Apastambhi Sutra, Dhruvi Sutra, which are there. It is part Taittiriya. Some also say that Taittiriya, the Apastambhi, is an other name for Taittiriya because it's a very, very major, significant portion of the Taittiriya Shaka. One important thing to know here is that when we say a Shaka, it is not that all the 4 components of a Shaka are different from other 4 components. Sometimes 2 shakhas they can have a common samhita or like generally they have a different samhita, but they can have common samhita also. One example is that Baudhayana and Apastama shakhas, they use the same Taittiriya Brahmana, they use the same Taittiriya Samhita, and they use the same Taittiriya Aranyaka, but they have got different Kalpasutra. On the other hand, the Sankhyayana and Kaushitaki shakhas, they use the same Samhita and Shrauta Sutra, but they have got Brahmana, which are there in a different reading. These technical details are also there. So I just mentioned, I brought it here because now names are there, so it is easy. If I would have said this earlier, that uh, you know, Baudhayan and Apastamba is the same, but I'm difficult. So these names are there with familiarity. When one reads any different scriptures, and there will be a familiarity to this name, and thereby it will get inculcated in one's memory. We have the Yajurveda continue. Of the extant Yajurveda Samhita, the 2 major one currently are the Madhyamina and Taittiriya. These are the 2 very, very major shakhas which are there. The Madhyam Dina Samhita comprises of 1975 Khandikas or 3,918 mantras. Those Khandikas are split up into several mantras, arranged into 40 chapters according to the order of performance of Vedic sacrifice. All but the last chapter, which is the Ishavasya Upanishads, are employed in the Vedic, which that is the content of the Madhyam Dina Samhita, which is being discussed over here. Very popular in South India, the Daitriya Samhita deal with the detailed description of the sacrifice like Agnistoma, Pratishtoma, Vajaspeya, Rajaspeya, etc. It is divided into 7 khandas, which are further divided into 5 to 8 prabhatakas each. The Taittiriya Brahmana, the Taittiriya Aranyaka and Taittiriya Upanishads are associated with this Samhita. So as I said, generally the Shakha, they have a different Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. The Yajurveda was also called Nigada because it is constantly recited. So it is in everyday rich worship, Brahmanas would recite this. So Nitaram recited Gada. That is how the Nigada it was derived. Next we have is this Samaveda. It is comprised of 1875 ruks, of which all but 75 ruks are traceable to the published Shakhalya Samhita of the Rigveda. The rest are all said to occur in the Sankhayana Samhita of the Rigveda. All these verses are set to melodies called the samans. The origin of Indian classical music lies in the Samaveda. So the 4 Upavedas which are there, each of that corresponds to one of the Vedas. So the Natya Shastra and the Kavya Shastra as a whole is a part of Samaveda. It is being derived from here. And as I said, the Rig Veda is the basis for all other 3 Vedas. So the verses repeat, but they are in a melodious tone, and they are in prose order in Yajurveda. The Samhita is divided into 2 broad divisions: Purva Archika, of which the Gramageya and Aranyaka Samans are set, and the Uttara Archika, on which the Uha and Uhya chants are set. The Gramageya and the Aranyageya, this is Aranyageya, this is not Aranyaka. The Aranyageya. This is spelling is by A, and there is a spelling error, and G-E by A. So that is Aranyageya, which is there. Spelling error is there. These form the basis for the Uttargana. That is the Uttara Archika. So these are different way of chanting. So there is a Purva Archika, of which the Gramageya and Aranyageya samans are set, and they are the Prakriti Gana because they are the archetypes for the Uha and Uhiya chants. The difference between the Purva Archika and Uttara Archika is that in Purva Archika, it is constituted on a single verse basis, while in the later 3 verses are there. Also, one of the other distinction is that the Purva Archika is Apaurusha, meaning that was revealed to the sages, and Uttara Archika was composed by the sages based on the Purva Archika. And Purva Archika is in the Swadhyaya or in the daily recitations of the Samhitas, it is being used. And therefore, the word Uha and Uhya, which are ganas of the Uttara Archika, they are called so because they are being derived from the Purva Archika. And these ganas, Uha and Uhya ganas, they are in the 7 divisions: Dasharatra, Samvatsar, Ekaha, Aniya, Satra, Shudra, and Prayashchita. So these are because the yagnas they are performed for different with a different intention. So these ganas they have got 7 divisions based on the for the type of or the class of sacrifice for which they were being conducted. So this is a technical detail. Basically, essentially, what is to be understood. I mean, you can I can repeat that. There's a Purvarchika and there's Uttararchika. Purvarchika was Aparushaya, and it is the Prakriti Gana, the Gramageya and Aranyageya, which was The Prakriti Gana for the Uttarachika, which the sages later composed. And Uttarachika is what on the Uha and Uhiyas chants are set to. The major branches are Kauthumba, Ranayaniya, and Jaimaniya. Kauthumba is very prevalent in Gujarat and it is present in parts of South India. Rana Ranayaniya is very prevalent in Maharashtra and Karnataka. And Jaimaniya is very prevalent in the south of India. That is the Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Next we have is Atharva Veda. The two extant Samhitas of Atharva Veda is Shaunakya and Paipalada. The former has got 59-77 mantras arranged in 20 books which are known as khandas. So in Rigved we have mandalas, here and we have khanda. If one goes and checks, if you see Atharva Veda, then you can see. And the second one is arranged in many khandas. Atharvaveda, the speciality of this is that this Veda offers a better insight into the actual culture and life of Vedic society because it's like, as I said, it is an appendix, and what was left in the three Vedas was added to it, and it deals with various topics. The hymns are connected to wedding, agriculture, battle, medicine, domestic ceremonies, coronation, and so on. And of course, the spiritual aspect is also there, but predominantly this is there. And the mantras which are devoted to spirituality, they are often at par with the Upanishads. And because it deals with so many topics, it has got numerous names. Bhrigu Angarisa Veda, because it is associated with Bhrigus and Angarisa. Atharva Angarisa Veda, because it is associated with Atharvagana and Angirasa priests, because of its dual nature. And Shastra Veda, because, as I said, it deals with military, so military warfare and all of that. So it is also known as Shastra Veda and Brahma Veda, because there are hymns which also deal with spirituality. Kokri as well as Shanti Pushti rites. These are the type of rites which will be found in the Atharva Veda. So it has got many names, like how Rigved was called Bahrucha, because it has got many verses. Yajurved was also called as Nigada, because it is constantly recited. Next we have is the propagation of the Vedic literature. Srila Vyasadeva, he divided the Vedas into four parts: Rigved, Samved, Yajurved, Atharvaved. The Rigved, he taught it to one of his disciples, Paila Rishi. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, 54th verse onwards, from 52nd verse and 53rd verse, it is mentioned that how Vyasadeva he divided the Rigved, and like it was the four Ved he gave to the four rishis, which we will see here. And from 54th onwards, the division is given. So he gave the Rigved to Paila Rishi. Paila Rishi, he spoke it to Indra Pramiti and Bhaskala, two of his disciples. Now Bhaskala, he divided his part into four further parts, and he instructed it to his four disciples, Bodhya, Yagnavalka, Parashara, and Agninitra. Indra Pramiti, he taught it to Mandukya, and whose disciple Devamitra later on passed the division of Rigved to Saubhari and different stages. So Bhaskala Mandukya was there, and son of Mandukya Shakalya was there. He divided his own part into five parts and entrusted it to five rishis: Vatsya, Mudgala, Shaliya, Gokhalya, and Shishira. Shakalya, he was also Jatukarna was also a disciple of Shakalya, and he divided his portion into three parts and added a fourth part as a Vedic glossary. Now, the four parts he taught it to Balak, the second pillar, different from the pillar, original pillar, Jabala, Viraj. This is the 58. This is from the 58th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter and 12th canto, 12.6.58. So why I am mentioning this that, as it is said that uh, Jatukaranya, he received the three parts from Shakalya and he added a fourth section, a Vedic glossary. So this is what the Nirupta, which is there, and which was as appendix, which I had told. There are Parishishtas. So this is a Nirupti which was added to. So like this, you can find the discipline succession of the Rigveda. Next we have is the Samaveda. Now, Samaveda, it was Srila Vyasadeva taught it to Vaishampayana, and he became great authority on Vaishampayana. Vaishampayana, his disciples, they were known as Charakas, and they were executing strict vows to free their guru from the sin of killing the Brahman. So this is a story. Yagnavalkya was also one of his disciples, and he said that, you know, why are you, what benefit you will get from the feeble endeavors of these weak disciples? I will perform some very difficult, outstanding penance, and I will do prashchit for the sin which you did. Vaishampayana, he became very angry because this is a very egoistic approach, and this is never ever uh, to be. This is not something expected. Someone who is learning Vedas, he discarded him, and while going, he told him that you should give back all the knowledge which I have given you. And Yagnavalkya, he vomited out all the mantras which was there. All the other uh, disciples of Vaishampayana, they were very greedy upon looking the Vedic mantras, and in the form of patrages, tittiraha, the Sanskrit word for patrages, they came and they started picking up the mantras, and therefore it was known as beautiful Taittiriya Samhita. They took the form of patrages because it is improper for a Brahmana to collect what has been vomited in that form. Now, Yagnavalkya, he said that now I will find a new Yajurveda, which is even unknown to his spiritual master. And with that intent, he began worshipping the Surya, the sun god. He offered uh, prayers to penances, performed penances, offered prayers to Suryadev, and Suryadev he revealed the mantras to Yagnavalkya in the form of a horse. And for that reason, it is known as Vajasneyi. As I said, Vajasneyi was what was propagated by Yagnavalkya. So as I said, the Vedas, they are unlimited, they are huge. No Rishi has full Vedas, the knowledge of the entire Veda. Parts are revealed to them. That part they propagate, they pass down to their disciples. So one part of Yajurveda, which was unknown to Vaishampayana and Yagnavalkya, received that. And then he gave it to his disciples. He had 15 divisions and he gave it to Kanva, Madhyandena, and to the other rishis. Yajurveda, Srila Vyasadeva taught it to Jaimini, who taught it to Sumantu, Sutvan, and Sukarma. Sumantu was son of Jaimini and Sutvan was his grandson. So he gave one portion to Sumantu and one portion to Sutvan. And Sukarma was also another disciple. He divided the Samaveda into 1,000 Samhitas and he gave it to his disciples. So you can find this in the 6th canto, 50th, 52nd verse onwards. In the 12th canto, 6th chapter, 52nd verse onwards. The Atharva Veda was given to Sumantu. This Sumantu is different from Jaiminis, and he is a disciple of Vyasadeva. And he gave it to Kabanda, who gave it to Pathya and Veda, Darsha. So in a Guru Shishya Parampara, this knowledge was passed on and propagated. That is how the system is. Now, so this is the Vedic divisions which are there. There's another way of segregating the scriptures. So one way is of Rigved, Yajurved on the Ved, Yajurved on the name of the Veda, based on the needs of the four priests, Ruk, Yajur, Sam, Atharva, and the four components to it. There's a shakhas are to it, and shakhas have four components: Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyakas, and Upanishad. Another way is from with the view of performing different sadhana undertaken by a person to achieve their goal. Sadhana. There are three paths mentioned in the Vedas, and thus there is another way of dividing the Vedas: Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, and Upasana Kand. I've already spoken about the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. That is, these three yoga are part of the Karma Kand. Is the Karma is from Karma Kand, the Jnana Kand is what the basis of Jnana Yoga. Bhakti, not just Bhakti, but other types are from Upasana. Meaning is explained over here in brief. We will have it covered in subsequent classes. Karmakand is that section of Vedas which recommends fruitive activities and yagna for elevation to heavenly planets. So here, the sole motive is to perform rites, perform rituals for some fruitive activities to get the result. That's it. Upasana Kand, it is worshipping the Devta for the fulfillment of desires. So herein you are worshipping a deity with faith. There is bhakti involved to it. This can be sakam or nishkam also. What bhakti is being spoken of in the Gaudiya Parampara. It is technically part of the Upasana Kant, but it refers to the Nishkam Bhakti. Next we have is the Jnana Kant. This portion of Vedas involves realizing the absolute truth in the impersonal feature for the purpose of becoming one. The Upanishads are major portion of the Jnana Kant. So these three, this is also a way of dividing the scripture. So the Samhita portion is the Karma Kant, the Upanishad is to the Jnana Kant, and Upasana is, you can say, the Brahmana and the Aranyaka, but there is no clear classification which is there. There are some intermingling also. It's there. Essentially, what it means is that if you perform activities for fruitive with a fruitive motive, with a result that I do this, it's a transactional behavior, and that is what is the karma kant. If the motive is jnana, realization of Brahman, so jnana, impersonal realization, then there is the jnana kant and upasana kant is there. There's also, as an incident topic, I'm discussing this, that the three paths which are there, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga. Bhakti yoga has to be present in karma yoga and jnana yoga also. Otherwise, there is no proper, it is not fulfilled. How it is will be explained in the subsequent classes. Now we come to the conclusion of our class, Upasamhar. So herein would like to discuss something very amazing, a very interesting aspect of it, and that is each and every mantra, each and every component, Samhita, Aranyak, Brahmana, each of the four Vedas, each and every scriptures is has a personified form. So each and every mantra is a personified form. The suktas, Purusha Sukta, there is a person, deity, that Rigveda deity, Yajurveda deity, of all the Puranas, of all the Pancharatras, every of the scripture has a deity. As I said, the creation it is not a dead creation, but it's been propagated in the modern scenario. But it's a very living scenario. It's a very living, happening creation. And in the Adhyatmic samskar, each and every vastu it is sentient. Here, still many vastu, jada, is insentient. But the rivers, the trees, certain mountains, certain stones also have lives. Rivers, mountains, trees, there's a personified deity for them, which is there. And there is an interesting uh, story which we find in the Brahmanda Puram. तथास्य वितते यज्ञे देवा सर्वसमागतः यज्ञाङ्गानि च सर्वाणि वशत्कारश्च मूर्तिमान् मूर्तिमन्ती च सामानि यजुंषि च सहस्रश ऋग्वेदश्चाभवत् तत्र यश्च क्रमविभूषितः यजुर्वेदश्च वृताद्य ओङ्कार वदनौज्ज्वलः स्थितो यज्ञार्थसम्पृक्तः सुप्तब्राह्मणमन्त्रवान् सामदेवस्य वृत्ताद्य सर्वे सर्वगेयपुरःसरः विश्वा विश्वावस्वादिभिः सार्धं गन्धर्वैः सम्पृक्तोऽभवत् ब्रह्मवेदस्तथा घोरैः कृत्वा विधिभिरन्वितः प्रतिअङ्गिरसयोगश्च द्विशर द्विशरीररसि द्विशरीरसो अभवत् लक्षणविस्तरा शोभा निरुक्तस्वभक्तय आश्रयस्तु वशत्कारो निग्रहप्रहगरावपि. The translation is here that in his elaborate sacrifice, all the devas had arrived and were present. So Prajapati Daksha is one of the mind sons, Manasaputra of Lord Brahma, and he was a Prajapati assigned with the task of uh, generating progeny. And he would perform very elaborate sacrifices. And in one of his elaborate sacrifices, all the devtas were present. So all the dignitaries who were present is explained here. The various ancillaries, Vashatkar was present. The Sama mantras and thousands of Yajur mantras were there in an embodied form. The Rigveda embellished with the specific order of words called Krama also appeared there. All the deities, all the mantra, ancillary, that is the Pratishakas, this, that, the, the Vedangas, everyone was present. The Yajurveda were endowed with the relevant mantras, brilliant with Omkar as its mouth was stationed there along with Suktas, Brahmanas, mantras intermingled with Arthas of the Yagna. Samaveda endowed with relevant needles and with all the mantra songs which could be sung at the head was present there along with Vishwavasu and Andar Gandharva. The Brahma Ved, that is Atharva Ved, as I said, Atharva Ved is also known as Brahma Ved, one of the name because it deals, some of the hymns deal with spirituality, was also present there and they were accompanied by terrible rites. Due to the accompaniment of the Angirasas, it appeared as if it had two bodies. So what happens is that in the Atharva Ved, the atonement are also mentioned. So there are rites, and if there is some problem in performing the rites, the corresponding atonement is there. So therefore, it seems like there are two bodies, two heads. In the sacrifice, in the chanting, it has to be in proper order. Each and everything in the yajna has to be properly pronounced, properly chanting each and every mantra. If there is even a single error, there's a catastrophe. And to um, to avoid that, there are atonements which are mentioned there. The following technical details about the recitation of Vedas were also present in their bodily form. Lakshana, use of a cognate word for another. Vistara, extension. Toba, Nirukta, Swabhakti, Ashraya, Vashatkar, Nigraha, and Pragaha. So all of them all the ancillary texts, the Vedic texts, all of them, they have a embodied form in which they are present. And ultimately, what the main point I want to say is that Sri Padmasacharya, he explains that Vede Ramanya Chaiva Purane Bharate Tatha Adyo Ante Cha Madhye Cha Hari Sarvatra Giyate. Whatever is spoken about, whatever is word is used in the Vedas, each of them actually glorify the Narayan. Every word can be explained in a way that that they are a quality. Shiva is auspicious. So that auspiciousness is also quality of Vishnu. So each and every word can be explained. Then God, Vayu, Chandra, Agni, so everything, each and every word can be explained as a glorification of Vishnu. So Hari Sarvatra Giya, in the beginning, in the middle part, and in the end, Adya Anda Madhya Antesha, Hari Sarvatra Giya. And Vede, Ramanya, Purane, Bharate refers to Mahabharata. So everywhere in all the scriptures, the aim is glorification of Vishnu. So as I said, the aim is to get out of this world, mukti. It has been spoken, it has been explained in this way to facilitate, to accommodate the different living entities who are present in different avasthas and sthanas. But the aim is to be liberated from this world. That is the sole purpose for which everything is spoken of here in the Adhyatmic world. And there is another aspect which I would like to introduce here is that this is all is Siddhant, theory, Jnana. Where Siddhant ends, Rasa begins. Raso Vahi Saha is, is a mantra, is a portion of a mantra from Upanishads. And the soul is Rasa in the Adhyatmic world. So all of this is spoken for that purpose. And this is also those who are learned, the learned beings can see through it. With practice, these things come. Has to be realization because it's all is in Jnana. When we perform austerities, when we do uh, karma with a nishkam bhav, when we do bhakti, then there is a realization of jnana and it becomes vijnana. So that is the procedure. And thereby, we understand that. And the Siddhant, the purpose of Siddhant is to bring us to rasa, to the constitutional eternal position of a living being. For that purpose only Vedas are spoken. They are the breathing of the Lord. एवं वा अरे अस्य महतो भूतस्य निश्वसितम् एतत् यत् ऋग्वेदो यजुर्वेद सामवेदो अथर्वाङ्गरीस इथ पुराणः. They are the breathings of the Lord. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 2.4.10. Second canto, 4th chapter, 10th verse. Mantra, not 10th verse. That is there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Tunvanti Divyastavair Vedai Sangha Pada Krama Upanishider Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Na Vidhu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.